Welcome to Cardboard Content, where we aim to develop our skills and grow the competitive Commander community. Hey guys, it's me, Benedict, and thank you for joining me this week. We have a very interesting game for you today. A lot of interaction, a lot of pinging, drawing, and board sweeping. If you haven't subscribed, please do consider subscribing. We have an event coming up April 27th. We're a little more than 25% full at this point. Please consider on coming down to Las Vegas and joining us at our cEDH event. It's in conjunction with TopDeck.gg. We're aiming for a Gold Series event. Without further delay, here's our game. Starting off on our upper left, we have Lex on Vile Smasher Thrasios. Then we have Ryan on Sauron-inalla being played by Sebastian and Lance on Kinnan. Ryan pre-games with a Gemstone Cavern pitching an island. On Lex's turn, they play a Polluted Delta and then pitch for an Underground Sea, casting a first turn Mystic Remora. We move to Ryan's turn, Polluted Delta, and then passes turn. We move on to Sebastian. He shocks in a Steam Vents and then plays a Ragavan and then passes turn. Up next is Lance. He plays a Polluted Delta as well, cracks it for a Tropical Island, plays a Mana Crypt into a first turn Rhystic Study, triggers Mystic Remora. Ryan responds by cracking their fetch and getting an Underground Sea, then casting a Fairy Mastermind. Lex draws their second card, then triggers Ryan's Fairy Mastermind. Then Lance passes his turn. We move on to Lex's turn. They play a Bloodstained Mire, crack it for a Bayou, then casts a Gilded Drake, triggering Rhystic Study. Lance draws. With Gilded Drake's ETB, they choose Ragavan. Then Lex casts their own Mana Crypt, triggering Lance's Rhystic Study, then triggering Ryan's Fairy Mastermind. Ryan starts us off by shocking in a Steam Vents, then moves into combat, attacking Lance with Fairy Mastermind. We move on to Sebastian's turn. Sebastian plays a Watery Grave and takes 2, then casts Mystic Remora, triggering Lance's Rhystic Study. He passes turn to Lance. On Lance's turn, he rolls for Mana Crypt, takes 3, shocks in a Breeding Pool, and then passes turn to Lex. On Lex's turn, they roll for their Mana Crypt. They're successful, then moves into combat and attacks Ryan. Ryan responds with an Orcish Bowmaster, triggering Lance's Rhystic Study. He draws. With Orcish Bowmaster's ETB, Ryan targets Lex's Ragavan, sends it back to Sebastian's graveyard. Then Lex casts Kinnan, triggering Lance's Rhystic Study and paying for it. Then casts Mana Vault, triggering Rhystic Study and Mystic Remora, but paying for Lance's Rhystic Study. Sebastian draws and then gets pinged by Orcish Bowmaster. We move on to Ryan's turn. He plays a fetch, then moves into combat and attacks Lex for 2. Ryan passes turn to Sebastian. He pays for Mystic Remora, and then plays a Badland, and then passes turn. On Lance's turn, he rolls for his Mana Crypt, loses 3, then plays Waterlogged Grove. Lance plays a Mox Opal, triggering Sebastian's Mystic Remora. Sebastian draws. Ryan's Orcish Bowmaster pings Lance for 1. Lance casts Finale of Devastation for 2, triggering Sebastian's Mystic Remora, then triggering Ryan's Orcish Bowmaster and Fairy Mastermind. He pings Sebastian for another 1 and then draws a card. Lance's Finale resolves, gets a Gilded Drake. He chooses Kinnan. Ryan responds with Gilded Drake's ETB by casting Lightning Bolt, triggering Rhystic Study and Mystic Remora. They both draw, triggering Ryan's Orcish Bowmaster again, pinging Sebastian, and then Lance's second draw, triggering Ryan's Fairy Mastermind. Then Lance responds with a Swan Song targeting Lightning Bolt, triggering Sebastian's Mystic Remora. He draws, and then Ryan pings Sebastian again with Orcish Bowmaster. Now Ryan responds. They cast Fierce Guardianship, targeting Lance's Swan Song, triggering Mystic Remora and Rhystic Study. They both draw, which triggers Ryan's Orcish Bowmaster and pings Lance and Sebastian. Then Lance casts Chromox, triggering Mystic Remora, and then Ryan pings Kinnan, Lance passes turn to Lex. On Lex's turn, they roll for Mana Crypt. They're successful. Then taps Mana Vault and Mana Crypt, floating 7 colorless mana. Then casts Culling Ritual. Culling Ritual resolves, getting Lex 8 black mana and 2 green mana. Then Lex casts Wishclaw Talisman, triggering Lance's Rhystic Study. He draws, tutors up a card, passes Lance the Wishclaw, and then proceeds to cast Ad Nauseam. Sebastian responds with Born Upon the Wind, triggering Lance's Rhystic Study. Lance draws, Sebastian draws. Then Sebastian flashes in a Mox Opal, triggering Rhystic Study again, hoping Lance draws a counterspell, but then Ad Nauseam resolves. Lex reveals Noxious Revival, Lightning Bolt, Darkside Extortionist, Exotic Orchard, Chromox, Endurance, Eternal Witness, Neoform, Arid Mesa, Dolthy Voidwalker, Tainted Pact, Fierce Guardianship, Gamble, Mental Misstep, Underworld Breach, Invasion of Ikoria, and then Wheel of Fortune, stopping at 8 life. Then they cast Underworld Breach, triggering Lance's Rhystic Study and paying for it. Then cast Gamble, also triggering Lance's Rhystic Study. Gamble pitches a Pact of Negation. Then Lex casts Chromox, triggering Lance's Rhystic Study. It resolves. They exile a Darkside Extortion. Then proceeds to gamble again with Brain Freeze, Underworld Breach, and Lion's Eye Diamond. Lex proceeds to loop, being able to pay for Lance's Rhystic Study every time, netting mana, and being able to Brain Freeze the table out. Kudos to you, Lex. You did a pretty decent job holding back and timing everything after everyone wasted all their counters on that decent interaction. I was going back and forth. I know Lance was trying to get his endgame summation. I'll start off with Lance. I think I personally would have chose a copy type of creature to put into play, then choose the Orcish Bowmaster, pinging that, then be reliant on Sebastian's draws to control the board and keep my creatures on the board. The Orcish Bowmaster, even if he did get the Kinnan from Lex, it probably wouldn't have been on the board for very long. For Ryan, I would have targeted what Lance was trying to get, because if Gilded Drake doesn't have a valid swap target, it has to sacrifice itself. So that would have been a 2-for-1. If you like these types of events, please do consider subscribing and sharing the video. Our subscriptions have been kind of stagnant, so it would do a whole lot if you guys do consider subscribing. If you want more of these events or CEDH type tournaments, we have one coming up on April 27th, Showdown at Darkside. It is a prize pool of over 1K. We are also aiming for a top deck Gold Series event. More information on that down below. While you're down there, you can check out our social medias. Please follow us there. Also linked down below is our Shopify store. We have stickers, we have playmats, and we have tokens. Another way to support the channel is through our Patreon, like these guys. Our tier 2 content consumers, we have Aaron at 3 times, Big Yoda at 3 times, Lex, and our newest patron, Marcus. Our top tier 3 patrons, Wong at 5 times, Matt at 5 times, and Albert at 4. Thank you to everyone who has supported us. Please join us at patreon.com/cardboardcontent. See you guys next week for more content.